Hello BookTube. I decided that I'd break my haul into two separate pieces. So there's going to be a winter haul, which is basically anything from Christmas till now, except for the haul I got at the Friends for the Library book sale, which probably needs its own thing anyway because it was quite substantial. When books are 50 cents to $1 a piece, it goes crazy. So basically, these are all things I either ordered with Christmas money or bought with Christmas money or were given at Christmas, or the subsequent trip we took up to Port Townsend. I point like you can actually see where I'm talking about. You can't, I know. So yeah, let's jump right on in. I'm going to start with comics and graphic novels, and I have these three that have come in already. This is Strangers in Paradise number 2, I Dream of You, Strangers in Paradise number 3, It's a Good Life, and Strangers in Paradise 4, Love Me Tender. I have the first one coming, and once that gets here, I will reread them all. I have read this series before. I have everything else. Basically, I have from 5 to 19, I believe, is how many there are. And this is put out by Abstract Studio. Here, I'll hold up one that's not glary. And for some reason, this is secondhand. You have to buy them secondhand now, or you can buy a trade paperback compendium, and there are 5 of those. But this is basically a graphic novel about two 20-something, 30-something women and their lives and the calamity that ensues. They've had really rough lives, and one's marriage is collapsing, one is a lesbian, and as they find themselves, stuff gets weird. So I read this a long time ago. Well, not a long time, probably at least 10 years or so ago, but I really liked them. Really, really liked them. Which is when I bought them all, and I bought the last one actually when it came out, when the series ended. These are all by Terry Moore, and he also has a series out called Echo, which I want to read eventually. And for Christmas, my hubby got me Sailor V Volumes 1 and 2. She is a fictional character in the Sailor Moon universe. Sailor V is actually based off of Sailor Moon in the cartoon. They play her video games, and she has hijinks, etc. Basically, she was loosely based off of Sailor Venus. So I'm interested to see how they play with this. It is done by Naoko Takeuchi, and it's put out via KC Kodansha Comics. And yeah, I've read Sailor Moon a million times. That was my introduction to anime, manga, graphic novels, etc. So another good one that I will enjoy reading. Generally, I hit a point where I'll read them all in one fell swoop. I have a stack of like the first edition of many things that I have to get to. Speaking of first editions of many things, I had to get this. It's called Cheese Sweet Home. This is part 1. It's by Konami Katana, and it is all about a homeless cat. Now this ran, this kitty cartoon ran in some sort of paper, I believe, in Japan. It's been nominated and received awards for being the best children's manga, anime, whatever. This one's in color, which I love. Let's just pick a random spot. It's adorable. The kitten is adorable, and I have many stitch markers of this kitten. I didn't know that it was this kitten until I saw the book, but my cat Frank also looks incredibly like this and probably has the same facial expression, possibly this one too. So I know I'm gonna love reading about Cheese Sweet Home. Come on, Lost Kitten. Lost Adorable Kitten. I'm a sucker. Okay, so then we have, let's do it this way. Next up, I'm going to go through the ones that I got secondhand at a used bookstore. I believe I got them at 2 different used bookstores in Port Townsend. I picked up Wolf Hall by Hilary Mantel, which basically I saw this on Sophie, I believe her name is, her podcast, and I thought it was genius. It has to deal with Henry VIII, Anne Boleyn, etc., and I find that stuff riveting. So, of course, I had to read it. I had to get it, I had to read it. I saw it in a secondhand store, and I couldn't not get it. It's relatively large, as most books dealing with Anne Boleyn and Henry VIII are. It has decent book reviews. It also deals with Thomas Cromwell, whom I haven't actually heard much of or, really researched or done any reading on since I was in university and I took European history. Next up, I found a copy of Scars by W.P. Kinsella. This is a short story collection. I don't normally do short stories, as you may know, but I will do anything by W.P. Kinsella, and I add the caveat, this is from 1978, and where was it published? Are you going to tell me? Printed in Canada by Oberon Press in 1978. I enjoy W.P. Kinsella's work. I really like Dance Me Outside, but he is a very contentious author, particularly in Canada, because he is a white man writing about Aboriginal, First Nations, Native American, whatever you want to say, people. Now, he grew up around a reserve, so at many times he bites into the tropes and he bites into the stereotypes of what we assume Aboriginal people are, but at the same time I feel he gives a lot of depth of character to the Aboriginal person. And really, when I read Dance Me Outside, and I didn't know he was a white guy writing about Indians, I really thought he had a valid grasp on everything, and he was really not playing into the tropes or playing up the tropes, but taking them and using them in a way to convey stories that make everybody more human. So whether or not you choose to read W.P. Kinsella, I do, and I love him. And I will buy everything of his I find, because they're getting harder to find nowadays. You can find Dance Me Outside, and you can usually find the omnibus of a couple of his stories. Dance Me Outside was turned into a movie in Canada. It stars a lot of very good Aboriginal actors. And there was also a subsequent TV show called The Res, based off of his short stories, which was also populated by a lot of Aboriginal people. And they wrote the stories for the TV show as well. The other thing I picked up was Tess of the Dubervilles by Thomas Hardy, which is apparently needs this sticker. There's a companion edition to Masterpiece on PBS. I could care less about PBS, but what I do care about is all these lovely notes in the back. I love a good note and an appendices. You know this, you love this. And I haven't read this yet. I have read some Thomas Hardy. I believe Thomas Hardy is responsible for something I've read. Or am I getting him confused? I might be. Who wrote Silas Mariner? That's George Eliot. I'm thinking of George Eliot. I don't know that I've read Thomas Hardy. But my sister-in-law, her favorite book is Tess of the Dubervilles, so I guess I will read this. It is the Penguin's Classics edition. Again, secondhand, how can you resist? I have never had the pleasure or displeasure of reading anything by Donna Tartt, an author of the Goldfinch Pulitzer Prize winner 2014. Why did they put stickers on books? I flipping hate stickers on books. Will this one come off, or am I going to be very saddened? You know what's hard? Trying to get Goodwill stickers off. It's like they use some sort of, evil sticky stuff that is never ever going to come off. Okay, this one seems to want to leave voluntarily. Okay, there we go. Nice, clean I don't need to know about a Pulitzer Prize winning thing. I can look that up if I want. Like, quit with the stickers already. So, I'm sure everybody has heard this story mentioned. It's several people's favorite book, or top 10 book of ever they've ever read. So, of course, why not pick it up? I believe this novel is about, a bunch of kids in university. I've also heard that this is very academic, and it's kind of not smutty, not smarmy. They're snobbish. Either way, that may be problematic for me, but I still want to read it, and it was secondhand, so it wasn't that expensive. It's 500 pages, I want to say. Yeah, it looks like 500 pages. The text is not that horrifying. It can't be as bad as Vanity Fair. And I'm sorry whoever said Vanity Fair is their favorite. I think it was Jane Campbell. I lit that book on fire and I threw it off a bridge. I'm not even kidding you. After I took that for 19th century lit class, I hated that book. And I like the Mysteries of Udolpho, so I know a good 1,000-page book that should have been edited. But oh no. Vanity Fair, set that thing on fire and threw it off a bridge. That's how much I hated it. That's the only book I've ever actually defaced like that. I got the funeral part. Okay, so we're getting into books that I ordered with Christmas money. That's basically everything we've got now. Okay, so I got The Funeral Party by Ludmila Ulitskaya, and Anna from BB03AAV, or something similar to that, who has a booktube. She is Russian. She lives in Cambridge. Check her out if you haven't. Recommended this particular author, and I went to look at what she had released, and this is a Cure song, so I had to get it. I was like, if I like it, then I can get them all, but I have to start with the one that's called The Funeral Party. And this is about a group of Russian immigrants in New York, and it basically follows them as they are living in exile. It's not very big. It's 154 pages, so it's one of those, I will sit down and read it in one fell swoop. Translation in 1999 by Kathy Porter, and yeah. This is put out by Schocken Press? Schocken Books. I just like that. I picked up, you'll see a theme here, because that's a Cure song, and Titus Grown, which is the first book of the Gormenghast novels, with an introduction by Anthony Burgess, who wrote A Clockwork Orange. This is by Mervyn Peake. Now, the Titus Grown novels, or the Gormenghast trilogy, was the inspiration for several different Cure albums way back in the 1980s. But this is also supposed to be wonderfully bleak and romantic and gothic. And I love gothic fiction from the 19th century. Now, this isn't the 19th century because he didn't write during that time period. I don't think he was alive during that time period. But it says here, an undisputed classic of epic fantasy, Mervyn Peake's Gormenghast novels represent one of the most brilliantly sustained flights of Gothic imagination. So this one has Titus just being born to this castle, and he has to figure it out and work his way through the castle, basically in this one. I am so looking forward to reading this. It's by the Overlook Press. Now, you can get the Gormenghast in one fell swoop, but that's like 1,000 pages. So, and it's not as pretty as these covers. I thought this cover was so beautiful. Look at that. Like, doesn't that make you want to read it? It looks like a Gorey print. It looks like it was done by Gorey, but I don't think Edward Gorey did it. Are you going to tell me who did the front? No. This edition's from 1992. So looking forward to that. And these three all need to be done together. Then I picked up, I saw these on on Amazon, and they needed to come home with me because they were on Amazon, so they were significantly cheaper than if I purchased them anywhere else, as we all know. And they are the gorgeous orange-spined penguin, the 50th anniversary edition? 70th anniversary edition. So I picked up 12 Years a Slave by Solomon Northrop. As we all know, he was born a free man and sold into slavery. And this is his diary or recollections. I've heard both plus and minuses about this book. Most recently, the review I saw was from the Book Castle. Castle of Books, the Book Castle. And she said that it was a bit grueling and a bit gruesome. So I'm okay with that. I'm okay with grueling and gruesome. Looking forward to it. The next one is Ceremony by Leslie Marmon Silko, which is the story of an Aboriginal group up in Alaska, and one of them has served time in the war and is now coming home. So it's a story of coming home, basically, and we all know how I enjoy that and Aboriginal fiction. So there's that one. And then White Noise by Don DeLeo, which, yeah, this one just sounds insane. It was the winner of a 1985 National Book Award. It tells the story of Jack Gladney, his fourth wife Babette, and four ultramodern offspring as they navigate the rocky passages of family life to the background babble of brand name consumerism. It might read a little too close to reality, but I am prepared for that. And I just love these covers, and I love how they look. They've got that kind of plasticky finish. It just makes me happy. Now, this one, which is also a major motion picture and not a sticker I can tear off, is The Namesake by Jhumpa Lahiri. And basically, I picked this up because I was walking through a bookstore. I saw the name, and I knew Rincy likes her, so I figured I'll give it a shot. And this, of course, is the story of Gogol, who betrays all the conflicts of honoring tradition in a new world. It's a motion picture. I have no idea. It takes place in India. I'm fine with that. Calcutta, to be precise. I like reading stories that are set in India, so that is all good by me. Like, there's a fair bit of Indian works that I've read. Then I picked up Eileen by Otessa Moshfegh. Now, I've heard, and again, another sticker that won't come off, it's a Penguin edition, and I've heard that if you like character studies with little plot, then this is a book for you. And I thought, I don't know if this is a book for me. So you know what I did when I was in the bookstore? I picked it up. I flipped to the first page. See, this is what I'll do. If I can't decide if I like a book, I'll read the first page in the bookstore. I'm not sure if you're like me, but once I read the first sentence, I read it to you now. I had to get it. I looked like a girl you'd expect to see on a city bus, reading some cloth-bound book from the library about plants or geography, perhaps wearing a net over my light brown hair. I am that girl on the city bus, but I don't have the hair, as you can tell. So I'm going to read that, and I'm looking forward to that. That was something Stacks had mentioned that. And then these last three I ordered from Book Depository because they're way cheaper, and I don't mind waiting a little bit, because I'd seen these on primarily UK booktubes. So The Title Zone by Sarah Moss, which is about a dysfunctional family, from what I understand. Yes, one collapses and stops breathing. And one daughter collapses and stops breathing, and suddenly the world turns topsy-turvy. It was picked as one of the best of the year for a lot of people who do booktube, particularly in the UK. It's not easy to get a hold of in America as of yet, so I picked it up on Book Depository. This one hasn't been released in America yet, and I'm not about to wait because I'm impatient, and Book Depository had it, and I had Christmas money. And this is Autumn by Ali Smith. I'm told it's the first Brexit novel. It's going to be the first of 4 novels that are all going to deal with different seasons, like autumn, winter, fall, or autumn, winter, spring, summer. And lots of people were talking about it. I look forward to reading it. It looks very interesting. I'm told it's stream of consciousness, which I enjoy. But that also means I have to devote a chunk of time to this, because I don't like reading stream of consciousness in bursts. Lots of books I can do in bursts. I can read 3 pages here, I can read 3 pages there, but if it's stream of consciousness, I need at least like a half hour to really get into it. And the last book I picked up was, again, Anna from BBVO 303 AAV, something like that. She had read The Gulag by Alexander Solzhenitsyn. Well, it's spelt like that. And I was interested in that one, but I couldn't find one that wasn't abridged, and she had spoken of this being his previous work, Cancer Ward, which is about the cancer ward in Russia, and how no one is actually allowed to talk about it being cancer. So they don't actually tell the patients they have cancer, they just keep them on this ward. And this guy was in the ward, and so I have, if you've watched any of my floss tubes or my yarn podcast, my knitting podcast, you may know I have started an MA in medical anthropology. I never defended my thesis, long story short, but I have a very large interest in patients, patient care, disease, particularly pertaining to the former Soviet Union, Chernobyl, etc. So this one grabbed me, and I had to pick it up. It is massive. Again, 536 pages. It's big. It promises to be a beast of a read, and I am totally looking forward to it. And these were the books that I picked up over the course of Christmas. Now, the last 3 just came in, and I'm probably not going to buy books for a very long time now, because I have a lot to read. However, having since started BookTube and doing this, I have been able to read a lot more, and it's really inspiring me to read more. And basically, I want to kick last year's butt, because I think I read 20 books or something, like 20 to 25 books, and that's not acceptable at all. So, that is my belated Christmas winter haul, and I will be hitting you up next week with my Friends of the Library book haul.